welcome to the first edition of the Medicated Reviewers, Drew's Reviews. Now technically this isn't a review, but nonetheless a very important concept going on in the gaming community right now that I want to discuss. And that is motion controls versus dual analogs of first-person shooters. Now, let me just give you a little introduction here and discuss this. This is one thing that has not been discussed enough, I believe personally, in the gaming community. A lot of people think that motion controls are a gimmick, that they're not for hardcore gamers, particularly first-person shooter gamers. They're not for competitive gamers, etc. Well, I believe that couldn't be more wrong. In fact, I believe that motion controls are superior than dual analogs for first-person shooters if done right. And I'm going to talk about why. I personally have played a lot of first-person shooters over the years. Right now I'm the sexy age of 29, and that means that I've played a few games. Okay, I've been playing games basically since they came out with the original Nintendo in 1985. In fact, even a little bit before that. I was born in 82. But I do recall getting the original Nintendo and been playing ever since. I played GoldenEye, the original, on Nintendo 64 quite a bit, so I have plenty of experience with the analog. And the dual analog, I've played Halo 3 extensively back when I used to play my Xbox 360 a lot. Played Halo Reach quite a bit. And played other first-person shooters on that system with dual analogs. And I'm talking Halo 3, we're talking hundreds of hours here, so not just a few hours to make some fancy claim. Now, I've also played a recent shooter that's come out for the Wii. It's coming out soon for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. On the PlayStation 3, it will be Move compatible, and that is GoldenEye 007 for the Wii. That is a motion-controlled compatible game, a Wii-mote compatible game, first-person shooter. Has, I guess you might call it, if you had to compare it to something, kind of like Call of Duty controls. But I'll tell you, it controls absolutely fantastic. It's quite amazing how great it is. And I've got well over 600 hours in that game. So just to give you an idea of my experience with first-person shooters, I've played a few. I've played competitive clan wars. In fact, I am in the #1 ranked clan in the world in GoldenEye on the Wii. You might think that doesn't mean anything, but trust me, it does. It takes a little bit of effort, considering our clan consists of only 8 people. And we're undefeated. And everyone in that clan uses the Wii-mote for the most part. So let's go ahead and talk about the reasons why I believe that motion controls are superior to dual analog controls of first-person shooters. Point 1 being the accuracy percentage boost. It's actually been proven, according to a Killzone 3 study, that there's a 40% more accuracy upgrade when you use the Move instead of the DualShock 3. The DualShock 3 being a dual analog controller, typical PlayStation controller that you see with the dual analog, similar to this, which is known as a CCP, Classic Controller Pro, on the Nintendo Wii. Basically the same thing, just a little bit different, but same concept. It's much more accurate. You know, and how important is accuracy in a first-person shooter? It's almost everything. It's really as important as map knowledge or gun knowledge. You know, being able to get the cursor on the guy, I mean, that's everything. That's how you win the game. You know, you want to get the guy killed in the least amount of shots possible as quickly as possible. You don't want to spray and pray, which with this controller, I believe a lot of people typically do more. You spray and pray. I don't believe you can be as fast with this either, but that's not necessarily a proven fact. I do want to talk about a second point, which is freedom of movement. Okay, I want you to consider, maybe if you have a classic controller or a analog controller of some sort at your disposal, I want you to think about how far you can actually move your thumb while moving this analog all the way to the side. Not very far. There's very little space of movement, maybe an inch of total space from left to right, and that's all the way from left to right. I mean, think about just from center default position just to the right. It's probably I guess there might be another inch. I should say maybe closer to 2 inches. there might be an inch of space there, maybe less. Not much. So there's not very much movement, and that's one thing that always bothered me, because you need to get the cursor right on the guy, and it was very difficult with that little space of movement. You would usually overshoot or undershoot. It'd be hard to get it directly on them with the dual analogs. I would say to dual analog users struggling, make it much slower. I mean, it'd be nice to go fast, but just with this controller you can't. Not get consistent accuracy. Now, when you compare it to the motion control, I hold in my hand a Wii-mote and nunchuck. Think about how much more freedom of movement you have. You have the whole wrist here to move. Okay? Quite a bit more movement. Quite a bit easier to be to not overshoot or undershoot, because there's just more room to move. And your wrist is more flexible and has more movement, we'll just say, than does the thumb. There's more here than the thumb. Alright? So that's a really big key feature for me, and it's very easy to get the cursor onto the guy using the motion control controllers, particularly the Wii-mote in this instance. Lastly, and this is my final point, but it's not everything, it's just more it's more fun, it's more immersive to me personally. This is not necessarily a make it or break it point, but it's something that I wanted to point out. It does seem to be more immersive using the Wii-mote, or just motion controls in general, because it's almost like you're holding an actual gun. You're kind of like, Now, I personally don't like those peripherals that they have added on devices, the sharpshooter or the Wii zapper, sharpshooter being for the PlayStation Move. I don't personally enjoy those, because I personally play like this. If you can see, I play with my legs. I sit up and I rest my arms here on my thighs, and it's not straining to me. I could play for hours like this and not get tired. On the other hand, if you're holding a Wii zapper or a sharpshooter, can you imagine playing in Clan War like this for an hour, or 2 hours, or 3 hours? You would get tired. Now, I understand that a lot of people play like this, and it's really beside the point in terms of, if you want to use the sharpshooter or whatever, go ahead, but I just think you would get more accuracy and more consistent results doing what I suggested. I think it's just a gimmick, the add-ons, but not the motion controls, I'll tell you that. So let me just wrap this up. In my own experience, again, I've played a lot of first-person shooters, and I will never go back. And I'm not the first person to say that. I will never go back to playing a first-person shooter if it's not motion controls. That might mean if they stop making them, first-person shooters with motion control compatibility, then I might not play any more shooters anymore, or at least play any more that haven't already been made. I mean, if that's what it comes to, because I just won't go back. The accuracy just isn't there. Now, I am strictly talking about a console-based shooter. I'm not talking about PC shooters. Yes, I know that PC shooter fans generally will say that the mouse and keyboard is untouchable in terms of accuracy, whatever, fine. That's not what I'm debating. I do think the Wii-mote or motion controls compare to the mouse, and so that's not what I'm saying. But my conclusion is, this is something that I don't think that the community, the gaming community, is aware of, and I want more people to be aware of it. It's a very, very important thing, I think, that could improve gaming for everybody involved. I think everybody that could get used to this type of thing would really enjoy it. And that doesn't mean you have, this isn't like you have to use this. GoldenEye offered both. If you want to use the dual analogs, go right ahead. But I'll tell you what, you're probably going to get your ass kicked by players with more experience on motion controls. I mean, that's just what I've seen. All the top players in GoldenEye use the motion controls. There's some great players that don't, but they just can't compete. It's like using a semi-automatic against an automatic. It really is that big of a difference. But I really do need to wrap this up. I've almost reached my 10-minute mark. Thanks for watching the Medicator Review. Drew's Reviews. I got more coming.